No prospera el arma forjada. La oscuridad no prevalecerá. Porque el Dios que sirvo siempre triunfará. Mi Dios no fallará. Mi Dios no fallará. Voy a ver la victoria. Voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Voy a ver la victoria. Voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Trae el arma forjada. La oscuridad no prevalecerá. Porque Dios que sirvo siempre triunfará. Mi Dios no fallará. No. Y mi Dios no fallará. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Voy a ver la victoria. Voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Todo lo que viene del enemigo, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. Todo lo que viene del enemigo, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. Oh, todo lo que viene del enemigo, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. Oh, todo lo que viene del enemigo, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yes. La batalla es tuya, Señor. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. We say, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. Todo lo que viene del enemigo, lo transformas para bien. Lo transformas para bien. You take you You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. And you turn it for good. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, oh Señor. Yo voy a ver la victoria. Yo voy a ver la victoria. La batalla es tuya, Señor.
And I want you to understand me. There's no way for us to be able to determine what the date will be. And the Word of God tells us that you do not know, for you do not know the hour our Lord is to come again. We need to be alert. We need to be watching. The word to watch that it indicates to us a vigilance, a constant vigilance in the moment. And I'm going to repeat it again. The word to watch, it is a word that indicates a constant vigilance in the actual moment. My question is this: are you doing it? Are you waiting for that moment? That moment that is coming suddenly? That Christ in any moment is going to come to to come and for His church? Are we ready for that moment to be with God? And what are the things that Joe's friend asked him? He said, "Become a friend with God." And I believe that we had to turn back to God, and it is necessary. But one of the things is to speak about God, and another thing is to live for God. And one of the things is that we are absent from that constant vigilance, and we have gone to become people who are, not now concerned with the things of God. There is a message out there. There is something invisible. There's a monster out there. And let me tell you something, that all the countries have prepared themselves for war with weaponry, with artillery. This nation has invested and has prepared themselves to combat the enemies in warfare, right? But look at how this nation is defenseless because they have not been able to take control or combat against this invisible enemy. Only God is the one that has the power to be able to bring some control to this situation. And as believers, we're able to, in prayer, able to take control of this, people of God. The church of God that is watching, the one who has the vigilant, constant vigilance, in the moment is praying for these people that are defenseless and these people who are far from God. And the reason for this constant vigilance, this moment, is that we, the believers of today, we do not know when the Lord will come for us. I'm preaching the Word of God this moment right now. Those who are hearing me right now, that you are in your home this moment. It may be that the Lord may decide to gather His church up to Him, to rapture His church. What is happening around us? And that is why, this instance that the trumpet of God may sound, what are you doing? What is it that you are doing? Are you ready? Are you vigilant for that moment? Because we don't know it. We don't know, you know, as this plague has come to the face of the earth unexpectedly, and look at all the damage that it has caused, all the deaths that has caused this invisible monster. The church has to be ready. The church has to be ready in every single moment because Christ in any moment can come for His church. There's no warning signs that we can suppose that we can have. This is not a sign that, you know, of His coming. These are things that are going to happen. The church has no sign for that the Lord is coming for His church. The only sign that God has given us that we shall watch, be ready, and pray so that we will not be surprised in His coming. Listen, in other words, it may happen today, in any moment, unexpectedly, any moment. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 44, we read, right? That we need to be, so you also must be ready because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect Him. Listen to this. We need to live convinced with the historic, you know, belief that of the return of Christ. We should live, and I want to say this again, Church of God, we should live convinced with the historic possibility of the return of Christ in any moment. church of God, the return of Christ for his church can and is possible that could be in any moment. Are you ready? Are you ready for an encounter with God? Are you ready to hear the trumpet of God? Are you ready to go to heaven? And that is a great question. In Matthew 25:42, the word of God said, watch, because we do not know the hour or the time that the Lord is coming for us. There is a warning, a caution, a warning from Christ to the church that we should be ready for his coming and to his return from heaven to us to take the saints with clemency. Christ is going to take us out of this world. This refers to the rapture. In the book of John, chapter 4, that if I go, I will prepare a place. I will come again and take you to myself, so where I am, you will also be. I want you to hear this. Listen to this. These promises, this is a promise that is very clear about the return of our Lord Jesus Christ for us. And some will go to heaven, and they will pass the valley of shadow that is happening around us and death. But those that are alive when Jesus Christ returns will never see death. The scriptures say in John 11:25-26, they will be transformed so that we are like Christ. Like 1 Thessalonians chapter 4:13-18. So Jesus Christ declares explicitly so that his coming for his church, that for the great tribulation, it will be in a moment, unexpectedly, without any type of warning. Jesus Christ declares explicitly so that his coming for his church that lived before the great tribulation will be a moment unexpectedly without any warning. We do not know the time, but in us is a time where the Christians is in time that Christians will not and people will not expect it to happen. And when many are careless, when many are disoriented, and we're not waiting what's going to happen upon the face of the earth, this which is happening perhaps unexpectedly, the people are afraid, the people are concerned. Can you imagine when Christ picks up his gathers his church, raptures his church? Can you imagine how many people are going to disappear from this earth? What's going to be the impact for those that were left behind? What is going to be their child? They're crying out the questions that they will ask themselves, that they have heard all these crazy people over here that they were saying that they're going to disappear, the church of God is going to disappear. But what has happened is that Christ has returned and raptured his church. Can you imagine that chauffeur, that bus driver, or that pilot, it's a Christian and they're gone. And can you imagine that everybody in the family is unbelievers, and the husband or the wife is a believer, and all of a sudden your mom or your dad is disappeared, you know. But there is knowledge and understanding in the Bible that Christ will return for his church, and the Bible says that God has given people the understanding so that we're not unaware of what's to happen, and to be aware that Christ will come in the hour that we least think about. And this indicates clearly a very surprising element, or astounding surprise for the faithful in Christ. What this indicates clearly, it is an element of surprise and an astounding, and for those faithful in Christ are to be prepared. And I believe that God is calling us for a preparation. The church has gone astray, they've gone to the left, to the right. And God is calling us urgently during this time, because the coming of Christ, the return of Christ, is approaching us for his people. In the book of Matthew 24, we see here that it has to do with part Israel and the tribulation, but also we apply it, the word, to our heart. We don't know when the Lord will return for his church. We should be alert and vigilant and faithful. And Jesus, he tried cautiously, his discourse in Mount Olives, and he spoke so that the disciples can understand. Matthew 24:45, he spoke to the disciples, and we should be grateful to God. And me personally, I'm grateful to God because I know that God has freed me and God has freed many people, and God did not destine us for wrath. God took us out of wrath. The wrath is not for us, the judgment is not for us. For those that have accepted Christ as their Savior, the judgment is not for you. And friend, if you have accepted Christ as your Savior and Christ is your Savior, you are not destined for the wrath, but you are destined to attain, salvation. He has saved us from the wrath that's to come. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 10, he has resurrected from the dead Jesus Christ, and he frees us from the coming wrath. In the New Testament, there is a way that understands and comprehends in this fashion, this New Testament, the true conversion to Christ is to apart from sin, and secondly, to turn back to God, to wait for the return of Christ, and thirdly, to wait on Christ implies the constant expectation of the coming of Christ and the preparation for that moment. And I'm going to repeat again. There, the New Testament speaks to us. The New Testament speaks to us about the way that we should, have. The true conversion to Christ is to apart from sin, to turn back to God, to wait for the return of his Son. To wait in Christ implies the constant expectation of the return of Christ and the preparation for that moment. When we talk about the coming judgment or wrath, we are referring to the future wrath and judgment during the time of the Great Tribulation. And I want you to hear this. The believers do not have to fear, because God will send, Jesus Christ will free them. Before the Great Tribulation, the people of God had to be gathered up to him, had to be raptured. The church of God has to be lifted up to God. We are having tribulations in life, yes, but what we're facing now, does not compare to that great tribulation, those times of wrath and judgment. And I want to tell you something, that you may be experiencing tribulations in life, but the Bible says in John 16:33, in the world you will have affliction. It has been said by the Lord, in the world you will have affliction. In John 16:36, but God will free us from all of them. But God He is in charge, that we will place our trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. And we're going to overcome any single affliction, any circumstance that comes to the face of the earth. We are going to be able to get out of it, because God has given us the victory that has been placed in us in the name of Jesus Christ. I want you to hear this, church. The only way that you will pass the Great Tribulation, you may ask yourself, are we going to go through the Great Tribulation? The only way that you will go through the Great Tribulation is that in the rapture of the church, you're left behind. That is the only way that you, as a believer, you're visiting the church, or a passive-minded person in the church. You have not taken the things of God seriously. The trumpet of God will sound. The only way that you will have to endure the great tribulation is if you are left behind when the trumpet of God is sounded. I hope that you prepare yourself, that you will hurry up and run and accept Christ as your Savior today. Because it is necessary. It is necessary. Can you imagine? If you observe how the situation is around us, how the world is, if you can imagine how we have a lack of food, and can you imagine medicine and doctors are scarce, and we know that it's affecting us, but it's not the greatest tribulation. Can you imagine when the judgment and wrath of God come, the ire, the wrath of God fall upon the earth? How would the world be? How will people experience be during that time? I ask myself because I am certain that I'm not going to be here. And I hope that you are sure that you're not going to be here for those moments. And I am certain that if the trumpet of God sounds, I am going to go to be with Him. I don't know about you, but I have to speak for myself. You have to speak for yourself. Are you ready for that moment? Are you ready for that moment? Are you apt? Are you able? So that God can lift you up to Him. He can rapture you in that moment of the rapture of the church. Because it is necessary that our life, that we are, capable, and we're living in the life of holiness in order for us to see the Lord. Let us not deceive ourselves. God cannot be deceived. Many go up to heaven according to themselves, but they don't live a life in the Lord. The Bible says in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 14, that in order for me to see God, I had to have peace and holiness. That's the requirement from God. That is the part that God has written down in Hebrews: be holy and be separate from sin and apart from God, for God. To be close to God, to search for His presence, His righteousness, and communion with everyone. Without holiness, no, you cannot be close to Him. If you have communion with Him, in Psalms 15 verses 1 through 2, without holiness, then no one can be useful to God. In 2 Timothy, without holiness, no one will see the Lord God. Being separated from God. Being separated from God, we lose the privilege to live eternity with Him. Separated from God, we lose that privilege in being, living eternity with Him. And sadly, many people nowadays, they have their spiritual lives, because, carelessly living their life. And there are many people who have ignored the coming of the Lord, and there are many people who see it as being delayed in their life because they have not, searched God and given their life to Christ. For 2,000 years, the church has known that the Lord will return. For 2,000 years, we have heard and we have understood the message of Christ's return to the church. However, many believers, they are, when I talk about the word, a lot of people, are, in their pain and they're, you know, agonizing within themselves, and they instead are dormant, or they are asleep. They're not, waiting for the Lord. And I want to put it in these words: they don't have the excitement, or because of the imminent coming of the Lord. And if a great percentage of Christians, they have lost that excitement, that feeling, for that yearning for the coming of the Lord for them, the return of Christ. We have lost, eminently have lost it, that emotion, that feeling for the Lord God. And when we hear that message, that Christ is coming, we should, very quickly, pay attention, and that we should search our hearts. That there's nothing in my life that can hold me back from me being left behind. And this is the way things are now. How will things be later on? This is what we're going through. If it's hard for us to get over it, what will be the wrath of God upon the earth and mankind? What has been the result of the people that they have, they're saying that Christ, is delayed to them. They're not living a life of commitment. There are people that live in life not giving any testimony to God. They're not witnessing for God. They're not preaching the word of God as they should be. And they don't believe that there is a way out for them, that there is an exit, salvation for them in the Lord. And the church of God, sadly, we are stuck. We are in four walls. We have no commitment in Christ. That we knowing that God is coming, Christ is coming for his church. And Peter, the Lord, his promise delayed, but many people have his promise delayed to them, but he is patient with us. He doesn't want that anyone perishes, but that we all may, advance to repentance. And a lot of the times, the delay in his return is related that every human being will hear the word of God. That God is good, and God desires that all mankind will hear the gospel. Now, sadly so, doesn't mean that everyone will be saved, because there's so many people that reject the grace of God, that reject the salvation, and they will await the judgment and wrath of God. And God have mercy. But if you are hearing me today, like the word of God says, do not harden your heart. Run to the Lord God. Look for a corner or a place in your home and get on your knees right now and tell the Lord right now, Lord, forgive my sins. The Bible says we need to hurry the coming of the Lord. Listen, the church can help to cut down the time that is left, before the return of Christ. How can we cut the time? When we grow to be more committed in evangelizing and spreading the word, spreading the gospel, the church of God, they have a commitment. Now is the time for us to reach out to the lost. Now is the time for us to preach to the people, to evangelize to the people and tell them that Christ is coming for his church. You tell them Christ loves you, that Christ is coming for you. Tell them, young people, tell that young person who is lost, tell that man, tell your neighbor, this what is happening is incomparable to what is to happen on the face of the earth. Tell them this is nothing yet. This is nothing yet compared to the future judgments of the Lord upon mankind. And tell them there is a way out of this. There is salvation for you. And God, for us to desire what yearning his coming, his return. The church should be crying out to God, come. We should be crying out to God and saying, Lord, come for us. Lord, come for us. Lord, come for us, Jesus. And I'm finishing with the sermon. I want to tell you in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 11. All these things, how we should walk. How should we be walking holy, right? In a way of living. Look at what the Apostle Peter is telling us. This was going to happen on the face of the earth. It's pretty much letting us know how we should live in our life. A life of holiness, a life separate before God. Consecrated for God. And the Lord would judge mankind. And the believers should not appeal to the systems or connect themselves or attach themselves to the values or the things of this world. The purposes and the goal of the life of Christian believers should focus around God and the hope of a new heaven and a new earth. We need to come back to our values. Our values are in the ground. We need to come back to God with those values, with our fundamentals, and what is the purpose. So we should live a life in waiting on God. Separation preserves salvation. And the holiness, it preserves faith and holiness. We live for God only. When we, this incredulous or disbelieving world, and that let them know that the blessings and the word, the gospel is real. All of us, we should observe constantly our own spiritual condition. And in the light of the coming of Christ, it should be an unawaited and unknown moment. We should preserve in the faith the way that when the hour or the time will come, is not to be in a relationship, a personal relationship with God, and being excluded from the presence of God when He returns, to be out of the relationship with God. It means that we will be excluded from the presence. I want you to listen. Look at the difference. What differentiates the foolish and the prudent wise? They do not know that He will come in a moment in life that we least expect. The foolish people, they do not know the coming of the Lord. And Christ indicates a great part of the church during this time for the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. And then Jesus Christ, He clarifies for us that this important thing here, that all the church, He's not going to wait for everyone to be ready. He's going to, any moment, He will come for His church. He's not going to wait for you. Get up, young person. Get up, church of God. Get up, people of God. Christ is coming soon. Because great tribulation will be that we've never had from the beginning to now. And it will not be. Matthew 24:21. I invite you to reconcile with God. I invite you to take seriously what is happening on the earth. I invite you for you to accept this invitation from God, because God wants you to be part of His family. God wants you to partake with the kingdom. God wants you to participate with a new earth, the new heaven, the new earth. Wherever you are, I invite you to open up your heart to God. Come to God and say in prayer right now, Lord, forgive me, God. I know that I have offended you. I know that I've been disobedient to you, but I come back to you. I return to you. I invite Jesus Christ to my life. Write my name in the book of life. Make me part of your family, God. May the Lord bless you and He keep you. He let His face shine before you and have mercy on you. He show His face before you and place peace in you, and you will call on the name of the Lord upon your family. I will bless you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We wait for you in 7-Eleven Church, in your Shama Church. God is with us. God bless you. Hugs and kisses to all of you. God bless you.
Son las mismas canciones, es la misma rutina, todo es igual. ¿A dónde se fue la pasión que me había? Ese fuego que ardía se desvaneció. Por eso ven, interrumpe mi vida, Señor. Yo necesito tu intervención. Interrumpe mi vida, interrumpe Dios, interrumpe mi vida, interrumpe mis sueños, interrumpe todo lo que quieras de mí. Toma el dominio, Dios, interrumpe mi vida, interrumpe mis sueños. Tú sabes, Señor, lo que es mejor. Toma el dominio, Dios, interrumpe mi vida, interrumpe mis sueños, interrumpe todo lo que quieras de mí. Toma el dominio, Dios, interrumpe mi vida, interrumpe mis sueños. Tú sabes, Señor, lo que es mejor.